This is Bill Hartzer, and this is the Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast for Thursday, August 4th, 2022. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Got a lot of things going on this today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So people also ask, so Google, when you do a search at Google, there's a feature called People Also Ask. And essentially it is a list of questions that are showing that people who have done related searches also ask these questions. And so it's kind of a drop down. You click on the question and it gives you the answer, and then you can click through to the site to get typically a full answer. So this is kind of related to FAQs, frequently asked questions on your website. And so what I do recommend is spending some time creating FAQs. But what you also need to do is, in particular, you need to be implementing FAQPage Schema on those particular pages, so that have the FAQ questions. So what I have been doing is I've been going through the site, my particular site, or one of them, and looking at the pages in particular to see which pages are candidates for additional FAQ page schema. There actually were some posts that I had created in particular that the title of the page, the H1 tag was, how to do this, how to do that. And so I was able to change that into a question and then look at other headings on the page and actually change those into questions also. That actually kind of creates an FAQ type of environment for that page, if you will. And so using inlinks.net, which I use, that automatically recognizes those questions. It will automatically create the FAQ page schema on the particular page, and it will then automatically create that code, right? And so what I've noticed, and I won't go into a lot of details, and me and another person I know have noticed that FAQ pages, especially if they have FAQ page schema, Google has been indexing those very quickly. And so there is a benefit directly for you to by spending some time, you get a direct benefit of creating, when you create the FAQ page schema and you add it to an FAQ, that page will get indexed faster. That's basically what I'm going to say about that. So let's talk about 3D augmented reality. So basically, it started, AR, augmented reality. It's essentially when an example is if you go into Google Maps and you're looking for directions and you're doing essentially walking directions, you can pull up, there's a feature where you can hold up your phone and essentially through your camera, as you turn your phone and so forth, there are additional images added to your phone view through your camera. And it will, as you're walking, it will actually show you an arrow that looks like it's on the ground. And it will show you, tell you when to turn right, when to turn left, when to keep on going. It'll highlight certain buildings. It will actually recognize the location based on buildings and landmarks that you're showing in your camera. And so Google, in Google Maps, walking directions will use augmented reality and throw that on top of your camera view, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you're walking in a city, try that out feature. Now, there's another feature using augmented reality that basically is allows you to see, for example, a piece of furniture such as a nightstand. Maybe you're going to buy new nightstands for your bedroom or for a bedroom in your house. But you want to see how those nightstands actually appear in your bedroom. So you can use augmented reality and if the online retailer has created the image of a nightstand and that product in AR and an AR image, and they've uploaded that image to their site, and they have added that schema markup code for augmented reality, that tells Google, that code tells Google that this is an AR enabled product. And Google actually in the search results will actually give you that option to see that product in AR as you click through to it. And so that is a really pretty cool feature. Google's starting to show those 3D AR images actually in the search results. So I would take a look at that. If you are a retailer, if you have any products that are a good candidate for allowing somebody to see that product in their own home or in their office or whatever, and through AR, that there are ways to basically take that image and convert it essentially into an AR image, and then you essentially put the schema markup code on your page, and bam, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to allow your visitors to actually see that and see, and hold up their mobile phone and see that product specifically in wherever they're standing, which is pretty cool. So anyway, that actually technology, and that Google has been working with some specific retailers for beta testing for a couple of years now. And then finally, they're kind of rolling it out more and more. And we're actually seeing it in the search results now. So moving on. So there are new Google. So essentially, there's new Google content guidelines for bloggers, web hosts, e-commerce websites, and some other types of sites. Those content guidelines have been around for quite some time now, but recently Google has added links to their webmaster guidelines, I believe, that points and highlights those for us. And even though the text in those pages of the content guidelines have been out there for a while, the fact that Google is now highlighting them kind of is kind of an indication to me, or kind of implying that they may be starting to crack down on those content guidelines. So frankly, we'll see, if they start to crack down, and essentially, if you're violating those guidelines, they would essentially level your manual action against your site, most likely. So anyway, it's worth mentioning, the guidelines themselves are not new, but they have now highlighting them, which is interesting. So here we are 5 years now and into Google using mobile first indexing, and meaning that if you have a website, they're going to first crawl that site and index it with their mobile version, or the mobile crawler, versus the desktop crawler. So we are now 5 years into mobile first indexing, and frankly, most websites have been migrated to mobile first indexing. But it's interesting to note that all websites have not been migrated to mobile first indexing. So we're still seeing some sites still being migrated. I don't know why it's taken this long. I don't know which sites in particular. I haven't looked into it to see if these are sites that have been maybe not updated in 10, 15 years, or of these sites that just randomly got picked that they have not been migrated yet. Not sure, but it's interesting to see that sites are still being migrated to mobile first indexing, even after 5 years. Anyway, so there is so there's a new Google tag, which is essentially for, let's say, analytics. There's a new, this new Google tag provides more features, and that kind of is also Google saying, hey, we're providing all these new features. Well, guess what? That means to me that Google is collecting more data, or collecting that data in a different way, but they're collecting more data. So great. You can go and start using this new tag. You don't have to actually do it because the old tags still work. These are analytics tags that you would add on your site, and then using Google Analytics essentially, and Google Tag Manager, et cetera, you can get more data. There are more features. But anyway, they're now pitching this past week. They've been pitching that there is a new Google tag, and you should be moving over to it. Okay, fine. When you get a chance, sure. If you're working on the analytics on your site, yeah, I would go add that new tag. Now, also at this point, we are with GA, we have GA4, the new version of Google Analytics. So what you still want to do at this point is you still should be running the old analytics plus the new analytics, right? So that you have the data, because at some point next year in 2023, the old analytics will stop working, and you'll have to have the new analytics only. So Facebook Live shopping feature is going to be turned off October 1st, which is about 2 months from now, August and September. So I actually I actually have been kind of involved in one way or another with live shopping since the late 80s, where I worked for Home Shopping Network for a period of time, and one of my relatives was one of the presidents of the company. So a little bit, know that a little bit more of the history of live shopping, and it's sad to see for me that Facebook Live shopping never took off. I think, frankly, it could have. I think that there's that people do like live shopping, and there's something essentially there's something addicting, and to seeing a product being pitched online, and the excitement and so forth, and seeing the deal, and then calling in or clicking through and buying it right then and there as essentially a pulse, an impulse buy. That concept has been around since since the 70s and early 80s. And Home Shopping Network had was in Home Shopping Club was essentially the originator of that, and that whole concept and the impulse buy, and basically what they did was in the 80s and early 90s, way before the internet really took off, was the fact that Home Shopping Club bought radio stations, not radio, but primarily TV stations, and they were live broadcast on the air, and those TV stations, they shut them down. They fired basically the employees. They didn't have, they didn't do newscasts and so forth anymore. The actual studios were dark all the time. And essentially what happened is Home Shopping Club then sent their signal from Florida where they did it live. They sent that signal up to satellites and then to a satellite, and then basically all of these thousands of stations nationwide in the United States, they carried that signal and basically put it out on the air, free on the air to anybody. And that was the concept. That's how they reached so many people. And basically people call in, and buy, and yes, that's the way they were able to buy, or pick up the phone and home shopping with live shopping, one product at a time, was actually able to take care of that live. So anyway, so it's for me, it's with Facebook Live Shopping, it's, I think it could have taken off. I think that they should have done, Facebook should have done more in particular to get local businesses involved and making it available for them, and basically so that they could do that live shopping feed. Now, we want to talk a little bit about crawling your site, crawling a website. I had somebody who came to me earlier yesterday afternoon and said, "Hey, this site is not doing very well. What's going on?" And I said, "Sure, I'm the fixer, and I can fix SEO problems and ranking problems, right?" So I went there and basically crawled the site and put some crawlers on there. Looked at Screaming Frog SEO Spider, and found that basically there were two major issues. Number one is that they had somehow moved from www. Let's say Hartzer.com. They had moved from www.hartzer.com to Hartzer.com. And all the internal links on the site were still pointing to the www version. And then when you clicked a link, it went to www, but then that redirected over to the non-www version. So that, there we had the majority of, we had 50 pages of an 80-page site had links, are actually those URLs were redirected. So that means that there were literally hundreds or thousands of links internally pointing to those pages that had to be fixed. The other issue is they had also changed a directory. So it was like Hartzer.com/services/whatever service, name of the service. That was the page. They went from that to Hartzer.com/keyword-services/whatever the page was. So, that all those links pointing to those services pages caused 404 errors. Now they still had changed some, but frankly, there was over 50 pages of an 80-page site that had 404 errors. So basically, to fix that, it was a fairly easy fix. So basically, luckily it was WordPress. So you don't have to actually go in and actually manually change every link, because that would have taken hours of work. Okay. Because it's WordPress, we're actually able to do two things. So fix those things. The first one was the 301 redirect problem. So they had moved from www to the non-www version. So basically I did a search for https://www.hartzer.com, and anywhere in the WordPress database where we found that www.hartzer.com, that was replaced with https://hartzer.com. That fixed the 301 redirect problem, except for maybe one or two links that I had to manually go in and fix. Not a big deal, but literally 50 pages of an 80-page site had to be had to be fixed, and all those hundreds of links, that was fixed in minutes. Now the other was the 404s. Those 404s again were called because it was pointing to /services/whatever in the URL, but we actually ended up, they ended up changing to keyword -services, where keyword was the main keyword for the site or the industry. So again, search and replace for /services/ and then replace that with /keyword -services/ and bam, those 404s fixed. 404s, hundreds of links to 404s, all fixed within minutes. So, but again, if you're going to move, I mean, if you're even thinking about moving from www.hartzer.com to non-www, okay, you cannot give me a valid reason. There is no valid, honest, valid reason why you should move if your site has been using www. There is no valid reason to just arbitrarily move from www to the non-www. You're going to cause more problems, and you're going to have to set up the redirects. And it's valid to move from HTTP to HTTPS. If you're going to do that, that might be a time where you might move to the non-www version because you're doing other, you're doing the redirects. But frankly, there's really, just because it's personal preference, if you're using www, keep on using it. If you're not, there's no reason to just move. You're going to cause more problems. So keep it the way you have it, right? Now, number two is, if you're going to move to a new domain name, okay, and you're using www, sure, that might be a good time to move to the non-www version. But again, if it's the same domain, don't move because you're going to cause problems. Also mention the canonical tag. I've had an issue with another site that they moved from www to non-www, and the canonical tag was still pointing to the www version, even though they were redirecting. And so Google got so confused between non-www, the canonical tag pointing to a page that redirected, that tanked their rankings almost overnight. Now, that was fixed. That was seen. I told them, and they fixed it. So that's also consideration. Now, if you are doing this, fixing this from www to non-www, since I'm doing a research and replace, essentially in the WordPress database, then in fact that's going to catch the canonical tags as well to make sure that that's replaced as well. So that should be taken care of. So that's kind of the issue and how to fix that. Finally, two more things for today. NFTs.com, which is NFTS, Nancy, Frank, Tom, Sarah.com. That 4-character domain sold for $15 million this past week. It was probably is now the second highest publicly reported domain sale, which is interesting. So I believe there was another one that was sold for more, but in fact, this one is interesting because I believe that puts NFT.com more valuable than NFTS because, in my opinion, but you could go back and forth either way because the plural versus the singular. So anyway, so at that point, that's worth mentioning. Finally, I've been testing all sorts of different email spam packages and options, essentially to reduce the amount of unwanted emails in my inbox. I've gone from about 500 to 700 unwanted or spam emails a day in one of my, that's just one email account. And essentially their spamhero.com has really done a good job of taking care of that. So I think that's going to be my go-to from now on. I have tested several different other options and filters and so forth. And frankly, it is Spam Hero is the one that's working for me. So that said, this has been the Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast for August 4th, 2022. I do this every week at 1:30 Mountain Time. It is recorded, and you can catch it on your favorite where you see your favorite, get your favorite podcast. It's also put on YouTube. The video is put on YouTube, and you could catch it live on Facebook Live on the Bill Hartzer Facebook page, where you may be seeing it here as well. So thanks again. We'll see you next week at this time, 1:30 Mountain Time next week. And thanks for joining me. We'll see you online.